That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
In this startup draft, I had to make some picks I was not that fond of. I had to make some selections that I'm like, okay, well, I always talk about the fact that I don't like this player, but if you're going to let him fall this far, fine, I guess I have to draft him. So let me give you all my explanation. Let's go through one of my most recent Dynasty startup drafts. Of course, a real money league. This was filled over there on Locals, where all of the members of the flock currently are. And if you have not signed up for Locals yet, make sure you join our community over there. You can find our Dynasty rankings. On top of that, you can get into a league with us, as you're going to see right here. And if you want to be a part of that community, you can find the link in the description of the video. Or if you purchase our Dynasty research book on flockfantasy.com, or if you actually go and sign up for Underdog Fantasy, where you can get into a ton of drafts with us, particularly best ball drafts for this upcoming season, and check out some player props. If you sign up for Underdog Fantasy and you use promo code FLOCK, you will get our Dynasty research book. You will get to be a part of our Locals community. Thank you again for everybody who has supported the show up until this point. Thank you so much also for everybody who's gone down there and dropped a like in the video, left a comment, and subscribed. But that should be it. Let's go through. Let's dive into this, and let's lead it off with our first round selection. Now, I will be the first person to admit this is a player that during rookie draft season last year, I said, I'm not drafting him. Instead, give me the positions that historically increase in value more often after their rookie season. Instead, let me take the pick. Let me go and flip it for a productive player we've already seen flash at the NFL level. Yes, I rank Najee Harris ahead of Jamar Chase as a rookie. Yes, I rank Trey Lance ahead of Jamar Chase as a rookie. Yes, I told people to take Jamar Chase and trade him for CeeDee Lamb. I made some massive mistakes with Jamar Chase, even after he broke out halfway through the season and people were coming out and saying, Jamar Chase, the wide receiver one in Dynasty. I was still hesitant. I still said, you know what? It's Justin Jefferson. I don't think we can put Jamar Chase here just yet. But what we saw through the entire course of Jamar Chase's rookie season, even with another elite level young stud receiver there in T. Higgins, I'm comfortable. I'm throwing in the towel. I'm calling Jamar Chase the wide receiver one in Dynasty. It's funny, we almost had Jonathan Taylor making it to us at the 108. Of course, I would have preferred going Jonathan Taylor here, getting that bell cow running back on their rookie contract. But once you have Jonathan Taylor off the board, once you have those truly elite level quarterbacks gone as well, I guess here it's almost default. You got to go Jamar Chase. I'm throwing in the towel, the wide receiver one in Dynasty. This is a player that just put up a wide receiver one season his rookie year, attached to an extremely young quarterback. They just improved the offensive line, which I think we can assume means that Jamar Chase will have more time to develop those deep routes and those double moves further downfield for Joe Burrow to find him. I don't know exactly what else we can say other than that. But let's go into the second round. And I know we're starting this draft off. Just keep it going with these players I wasn't necessarily a massive fan of as a rookie. Go Kyle Pitts here at the 205. This is the first tight end off the board. Now, yes, last offseason, I made fun of the people who were taking Kyle Pitts as the tight end one in Dynasty right away. We were making fun of people who were drafting Kyle Pitts in the top 3 to 4 rounds of redraft formats. While I've always admitted, Kyle Pitts, the best tight end prospect of all time. Kyle Pitts, I mean, by far and away the best tight end prospect of all time. If you look at the production on a per game basis at Florida, combine that with his elite size adjusted athleticism, which really does matter at the tight end position, even though it doesn't matter nearly as much at receiver. Now, I know with Kyle Pitts here, this is a player that's in a pretty bad offense this upcoming season. I mean, as it stands, looks like Marcus Mariota is going to be a starting quarterback. That's not exciting, but still, they can make a move in the NFL draft. Nonetheless, I mean, Kyle Pitts is 22 years old this upcoming season? This is a tight end premium format. We start the draft off with a young cornerstone asset anyway. So when we're on the clock here and I'm looking at Kyle Pitts versus CeeDee Lamb versus DeAndre Swift, and it's a tight end premium format, figured, hell, we don't have Kyle Pitts in too many leagues. We made the mistake of not drafting him aggressively as a rookie last year. We thought we'd be able to get him at a cheaper price this offseason. Well, I guess this is almost about where he was going, but it is what it is. We're going to take Kyle Pitts at the 205. And then at the 308, we are going to continue to hammer in these 2021 rookies. Now, I was really excited. We saw you had players like T. Higgins, Matthew Stafford slipping a little bit in this draft, and I really had my eyes there on that T. Higgins pick, thinking we could potentially pair together Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and then potentially try to make a play to go trade for Joe Burrow to complete that double stack. Well, sadly, you have T. Higgins going before us, and interesting enough, you actually have Malik Willis going at the 307. That was a pick that I personally did not expect. Now, I completely understand it. I know a lot of people in the comment section are going to be talking about how that's a very bad pick to go Malik Willis that high in a startup draft before we even know the landing spot. But what I will say is here with Malik Willis, this is a quarterback that will probably not be as good as our selection in Trevor Lawrence from a real life NFL standpoint. But if we're talking fantasy football, fake football, scoring fake points, which is what we always need to focus in on, Malik Willis could easily outscore his rookie season, could outscore Trevor Lawrence this upcoming year on a points per game basis, just based off the rushing upside alone, particularly in this format where you're only getting 4 points per passing touchdown. So yeah, here with a player like Malik Willis, I like him going right before us. So we get Trevor Lawrence at the 308. I understand that, yes, at the beginning of the season, halfway through the year, we were saying sell low on Trevor Lawrence. Yes, his value has gone down a bit, but I'm afraid if you look historically with these quarterbacks that fail year one, I understand everybody thinks that they can just point to Josh Allen and say, oh, look, Josh Allen was bad his rookie season. That means you should still be drafting Trevor Lawrence. You should still be drafting Justin Fields aggressively. Take these players in the second round of your startup drafts. Now, if you look at all those quarterbacks that have that adjusted yards per attempt as low as what we had with Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields their rookie seasons, you have about one guy that turns out to be Josh Allen. And outside of that, pretty much everybody else is complete dust. I'm fine taking Trevor Lawrence at the 308. However, once we have those veteran quarterbacks that we were saying to trade him for earlier off the board, once you have Russell Wilson, once you have Matthew Stafford off the board and they are no longer available, there we can go Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence versus one of the productive veteran running backs like Eckler Mixon or a productive veteran receiver like Stephon Diggs, when we've already built a team that's young around the core of Jamar Chase and George Kittle, we're just going to go Lawrence. And then in the fourth round, we've taken 3 players, 3 of the top rookies from that 2021 draft class. Figured, why the hell not? Let's go through. Let's take Justin Fields. Let's just do it. Let's take another player that y'all know I was very low on last offseason. I'm still telling so many people to go out there and sell Justin Fields in Dynasty, because if you look at his ADP, there are some people that still prefer Justin Fields over Matthew Stafford, over Russell Wilson. And if you can go through and trade Justin Fields for those veterans, of course, you do that in a heartbeat. Now, the issue is I'm playing with other people part of the flock. I'm playing with people that think it's funny to see how far they can make Justin Fields slide until I finally have to draft him. So this is the point, everybody. This is the point where I think it's okay to draft Justin Fields. If you continue to do it over those productive veteran quarterbacks, if you continue to take him at the beginning of the third round here, you are going to most likely be making a mistake. However, in the fourth, I will be the first person to admit there are a couple things working in Justin Fields' favor here. A, he has the rushing upside that we're looking for. Very similar to what we were speaking on with Malik Willis. It's entirely possible that Justin Fields is a bad real-life NFL quarterback. However, he goes out there and he's a good fantasy quarterback. Now, B, the other thing working in his favor is everybody in the Dynasty community loves Justin Fields, where if he comes out and if he has a quarterback 2 season, if Justin Fields is the quarterback 15 on a per-game basis this upcoming year, I can already see it. He'll be a top 15 Dynasty startup pick. I'll have people in the comment section every single video going, you idiot, you told us to avoid Justin Fields. Didn't you not see him ball out last year? In reality, he doesn't even have to have that good of a season because he already has the hype built in underneath with the community, all loving Justin Fields. If he shows any positive flashes, I think this is a player that I could easily go out there and sell high on. But yeah, I know that I am Mr. Fade Justin Fields, draft Trey Lance, fade Justin Fields, trade for the veteran quarterbacks. Well, if you're looking at Dynasty Leagues now, Trey Lance is going at the beginning of the second round. Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford going ahead of Justin Fields. I think we maybe have done our job getting Justin Fields to fall down a bit here. Now, in the fifth round, we are looking at a team that has a very young core. Everybody drafted in 2021. So I'm put in a difficult position where I don't necessarily know what we can do here, because even if I thought that you had someone like Chris Godwin, best available, Hopkins, best available, which I'm not saying that they were. But if we had a veteran best available, what I was probably going to have to do is go out there and just trade out of the pick. However, we had Saquon Barkley falling to us at the 508. We had yet to have a running back. Now with Barkley, I understand. Drafted in 2018, definitely not a spring chicken when it comes to the running back position in particular. Now, I will also admit that this is a running back that when the injuries continue to stack up, it becomes concerning. I know that you're looking at Barkley and saying, well, Mason, are we sure that the knee injury relates to the ankle injury that he suffered? Remember, Saquon Barkley, he's dealt with multiple ankle sprains throughout his NFL career so far. There's definitely a reason Barkley's falling this far. If you look at the production last season, it's going to be very deceiving, particularly at the end of the year when he came back from injury, because that Giants team had already lost. That Giants team had no way of making it to the playoffs. That coaching staff already gone. And on top of this, with Saquon Barkley, his quarterback was Mike Glennon. He had no hope whatsoever. So if he's coming back from injury, are you really going to throw Saquon Barkley in there and tell him, hey man, you got it. Let's play 90% of the snaps. Don't come out of the game. Pull a Najee Harris. Go pull a Christian McCaffrey from 2019. You can't tell him that. You have to say, okay, we'll have you out there because you're healthy, but we're going to split you with Devontae Booker because, Mike Lennon's in there. They're going to be putting 8 defenders in the box. It doesn't matter how good of a running back you are. You're not getting to the second level. I can guarantee you that you and Devontae Booker are going to be about the same. So I am almost ignoring the past season we had from Barkley. I am the first person to acknowledge that there are some injury concerns. But if we are talking about pure raw upside, this is a player that was the 101 after his rookie season in Dynasty startup drafts based on the talent he showed as a rookie and a second-year player. This is a running back that literally was the best running back prospect of all time. We have the best tight end prospect of all time on this team and the best running back prospect of all time on this team. I'm fine with Barkley at the 508. I actually like the first 5 picks of this draft. Where it goes off the rails is going to be getting to the 6th round. Where it goes off the rails is I take Mac Jones at the 605. I don't know if I was trying to get cute with it. I don't know if I said, oh, Mac Jones is there. He fits the team. Another 2021 rookie. In reality, this Mac Jones pick was bad based on some of the quarterbacks you'll see available to us later on this draft, where I wanted to continue to take quarterback value that was falling. However, because I went Mac Jones here at the 605, we were unable to do so. Now, you do have a player like Kenneth Walker available here. You have Jerry Jeudy available. There are some quality options that, honestly, I think this roster would have been much better off going with that Kenneth Walker, going with Jerry Jeudy. This is not the first time that I've made this mistake in a draft before. Seeing Mac Jones in the middle rounds, thinking that we had the stability to take him at this pick, but at the end of the day, really, what is Mac Jones providing us from a points per game perspective that we couldn't have potentially just had from Kirk Cousins the next round? So I think this was a mistake going Mac Jones at the 605. Now at the 708, we are placed in another interesting spot where I was having to choose between one of two things. We were having to go, okay, do we just take the productive veteran that's the falling value, potentially look to trade him later if this team's not ready to compete right away, or do we try to pivot over and go with some youth? Well, I ended up taking Mike Evans. This is a league where you have to start 3 wide receivers, and there are 3 flex spots on top of this. So this makes the wide receiver position very, very, very valuable. And the fact that we only have Jamar Chase through the first 6 rounds, this is why I was saying, you know what, that selection of Mac Jones over Jerry Jeudy was very bad. At this point, we just had to go with the receiver. Ended up going Mike Evans here. I think the Evans pick is completely fine. Don't love how it fits with the overall construction of this team. There's definitely a chance that we end up having to ship Mike Evans off for a little bit of a downgrade in terms of the production this upcoming season, but someone with more long-term upside. That way we could try to pair that timing with the other young assets on this team. And now, speaking of having to go with youth, our next pick, this is worse than the Mac Jones selection. This was one of the worst picks I've made, I think, all offseason, especially with how NFL mock drafts are currently looking. I went Matt Corral at the 805. Now, with Matt Corral, if he does go in the middle of round 1, and we've seen some rushing upside. Now, he's not Malik Willis, not going to go out there average 60 rushing yards a game at the NFL level, but he can get to 30 rushing yards a game, and if he is just a better version of Daniel Jones, hell, I'll be happy with that. But I have seen a lot of NFL mock drafts lately that there's a realistic chance that Matt Corral falls out of round 1. If that happens, this pick that I made is way worse than it even looks on the surface. This is a bad pick to begin with, especially knowing the format that we are playing in, knowing the lack of depth that we had at the receiver position, and knowing that there was about to be a wide receiver run. Here we should have just gone with a younger option, possibly in the last year's draft class. Probably should have gone with someone like Rashad Bateman, would have fit this roster a whole lot better. And with the way Matt Corral's currently trending, I think we would have just had more value on the team. But now going to a rookie that I have made a decent amount of videos saying, do not draft, ignore him, scratch him off your board. I mean, when he's going ahead of Chris Olave, when he's going ahead of Jameson Williams, when he's going ahead of some quality wide receiver options, I'm saying I'm not interested. But he falls to us at the 908. We take Isaiah Spiller here. Now, yes, I know we have talked about not drafting Isaiah Spiller at length, but the other startups I've done this offseason, Isaiah Spiller has gone at the beginning of the 6th round. Isaiah Spiller has gone like 30 to 40 picks before this every single time. I mean, the past 3 rounds on Sleeper, Isaiah Spiller was just at the very top of the ADP list, where it was difficult for me to even consider him when we were in the 6th, when we were in the 7th, when we were in the 8th. But when we get to the 908 and you have someone like Gabriel Davis going off the board before us, all of a sudden, there I become more interested with Isaiah Spiller. It's definitely down to those rookies between Isaiah Spiller, George Pickens, Desmond Ridder. If you check out our Dynasty rankings over there on Locals, you will see that we have Isaiah Spiller and George Pickens in the same tier. We go Spiller here, the only share that I have across all my Dynasty leagues. Hopefully gets a landing spot like the Houston Texans. We will see how it plays out. Not a big fan of the running back, but it is what it is. Now, our pick at the 10:05. Here, another player that looks like he's trending in the wrong direction. You have Ronald Jones signing to Kansas City, and right before that, probably the day before, we take Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the 10:05. I mean, this is a running back that's going right before Kadarius Toney. The thought process with Clyde Edwards-Helaire is he's a 23-year-old former first-round pick playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. That's all it really comes down to. Can't make an argument that he's talented in the slightest. I think if you were to try to say that, you would be laughed off the face of the planet. But you're essentially hoping that at some point he's able to average 15 to 18 touches in the Kansas City Chiefs offense. And in that offensive environment, we would assume that the defense isn't able to stack the box, that there are more than enough trips to the red zone. And those two things combining could allow for Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be a mid-running back too. And we needed that younger piece. In reality, once you have the Ronald Jones signing, another pick that looks pretty bad. We have a stretch of 3 picks here with Matt Corral, Isaiah Spiller, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Not that excited about any of them. I think the value we got with Isaiah Spiller we couldn't pass up on. But those 2 picks in particular, Matt Corral and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I'm not a fan of. I think we should have gone receiver. We should have done something else. Rashad White was our pick at the 11:08. Rashad White completely fine with this selection. I mean, this is a player that you're looking at having the elite receiving upside. We're going to be able to plug and play him in one of the flex spots. Hopefully he goes top 100 picks in the NFL draft. Now, we take him, right before guys like Kareem Hunt, Devin Singletary. We take him, after Christian Watson, Sky Moore. So we're taking Rashad White pretty much in the 2nd round of a rookie draft here, and I'm fine with that value. Of course, we need receiver, which we address a little bit later on in the draft. In the 12th round, we end up going Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet, one of my favorite buys currently in Dynasty. We're able to bring in the stack him with Justin Fields. Looks like he's going to be the number 2 receiver on the Chicago Bears offense this season. They have absolutely nobody to get the ball to. One of the reasons I'm not too excited about Justin Fields. Yes, this value is a little bit different, but figured Cole Kmet, extremely young, one of my favorite targets. We take him right before Robert Tonyan, right before Zach Ertz. Love that pick. And then going to our 13th round, this is where we need to begin loading up on receiver. We need to go receiver. We go David Bell here at the 13:08. Another rookie at the beginning of the offseason. I was laughing at people who were ranking David Bell ahead of Chris Olave. That was a popular take that a lot of people were arguing with me about. And then he goes to the combine, obviously has a very slow 40-yard dash, slides down NFL mock draft boards, slides down Dynasty boards as well. And as we previously discussed, as I've done the research for, 40-yard dash really matters at running back. It truly does. But at receiver, you take it or leave it. Wide receiver, especially if you are a slot guy running routes closer to the line of scrimmage, winning with separation rather than elite athleticism, you would rather have your wide receiver run like a 4.54. David Bell, of course, running in the 4.6s is no bueno. But at the end of the day, we saw Amon-Ra St. Brown last year find success. He slid down NFL draft boards because of his 40-yard dash time. And when you're playing in the slot, when that is your specific role, it's not going to be nearly as much of a concern if you are a wide receiver supposed to operate further downfield. Now, I think that should be it for this video. I guess we can talk about our 14th, 15th pick. We go Laviska Shenault, Kenny Golladay. With those two selections. Really wanted Irv Smith Jr. to make it back to us at the 1405. Irv Smith Jr. at the 1404. Possibly one of the best picks in this draft. We go Laviska. Who else am I supposed to go with? I guess you can talk me into Jacoby Myers with Devontae Parker being there. I'm not that excited about Myers, but I can easily see the argument with Kenny Golladay. I think Kenny Golladay is actually in line to have a pretty big bounce back this upcoming season. If you're just looking at the opportunity he had in New York, combined with the fact that this overall offensive environment with the new coaching staff and hopefully this team being able to stay healthy, I think Kenny Golladay is actually in line for a pretty decent year considering we're taking him right before Julio Jones, Jalen Tolbert, Van Jefferson. But of course, thank you so much for being a part of the flock, supporting the channel. Go down to the comment section. Let me know how bad I messed up this draft. I know that there were a couple of those picks in the middle rounds that just look horrible right now, but please let me hear it. Also, drop that like, subscribe to the channel if you play Dynasty. Go get our Dynasty research book over there on flockfantasy.com. And yeah, that's all I got for you. Thank you again for being a part of the flock, and I hope you have a great day.